Hey there, welcome to Table to Stage. I'm Jordan Worma, and this is my podcast, my continuing mission to explore creativity through the stories and the experiences of creators from all disciplines. Today's creators are Novak Foster, Craig Norton, and Anthony DePoto. They are just a few of the people involved with Arts for Learning Connecticut, an organization dedicated to encouraging growth in the classroom through integration of creativity and the arts in education. Arts for Learning will be hosting its first annual Cultivating Creativity event on July 10th at Quinnipiac University. It's kind of intended to showcase the teaching artists and the programs that are available to educators and administrators in Connecticut schools. You can visit aflct.org for more information. This was a great and I'd probably argue an important conversation, so I hope you'll take something of value away from it. I know I did. If you do find it valuable, I hope you'll take a few minutes to share it with others who may benefit from it, and to leave a rating and review of the pod on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. And of course, you can email tabletostage@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments for me. Okay, let's not waste any more time. On to Alex, Craig, and Anthony.
Novak Foster. I've been with Arts for Learning for about a year now. I'm the Educational Partnership Manager, so I oversee our teaching artists. I work on big partnerships with them, outreach, lots of other things, social media. We're a group of 4 here at Arts for Learning, so
that's the
whole staff. Our
okay.
staff is 4 people. We have a board, and of course our roster, which is many people, about 125 artists.
Wow.
So we all do all kinds of stuff. My background is I have a master's in education from Quinnipiac University. I was a teacher in New Haven for 7 years before I worked here, and I'm a visual artist myself.
Oh, what kind of art?
I paint, and actually affiliated with Arts for Learning this summer, and half myself. We're working on a mural actually in New Haven.
Wow,
on
okay.
the corner of State Street and Bradley Street in New Haven.
Nice.
So that'll be a new thing for me and for Arts for Learning, but it's exciting, yeah.
All right. Craig, what about you?
So, my name is Craig Norton, and I'm a teaching artist here with Arts for Learning. And I was trying to think of how many years I've been doing this with Arts for Learning. I think I started in 2004, or 2004, specifically working with people with disabilities. And VSA is very much a part of Arts for Learning. VSA is it's an international organization of arts education for people with disabilities.
Okay.
So that's one of my specialties. I teach photography and filmmaking. I do a project called the Power of Positive Filmmaking.
Okay.
And then I also teach drumming. Or I use
those are related.
drumming. Yeah, of course. I use drumming as a teaching tool, really,
sure.
And integrate all kinds of curriculum into the drumming with usually really young kids.
Yeah.
And that's really fun, yeah.
I have to ask a question because it seems to me like drumming is used in so many different fields as an educational tool, as a sort of a way to get hands-on and really get involved with stuff.
Yeah.
What is about the drumming that you think is so universal? It's used everywhere.
Right. No, I just made a film about that, actually.
Oh, okay.
Just in the last couple weeks, I've wrapped up 3 years of production on a feature-length documentary about the wellness of drumming, and how drumming is being used in a wide variety of ways. And if you want to check it out, it's www.roldoc.com. It's Rhythms of Life is the name of the film. And really, after 3 years of research and 20 years of doing this stuff, I have to say that there's something very much universal, and there's no buy-in. There's no proficiency required, like a violin or a piano, to play a drum. and everybody's got a heartbeat. We all walk in rhythm. We all, breathe in rhythm. It's intrinsic in everything we do.
Yeah.
And so when a person, whether they're a pre-K or a person in a nursing home, pick up a drum, there's a smile on their face, and it works.
Yeah, that sounds like a show by itself.
Yeah, well, let's talk, man. I'll have my people call your people.
Yeah, right. Anthony, what about you?
My name's Anthony DePoto, and I've been with Arts for Learning since 2014, and I have a theater company with them called Interact Theater, and I'm based out of Sandy Hook, Connecticut. Okay. And basically I work with schools, K through 12, as well as businesses, other universities, basically doing theater arts integration. So working with students on specifically their curriculum, whether it's something in social studies, whether it's something in mathematics, doing improvisational theater into or fusing it right into their curriculum, having students work collaboratively as an ensemble on their feet, and having students basically have the opportunity to build confidence, have team building skills, and again, like I said, ensemble work.
Yeah.
And that's kind of all over the state. And again, I've been with Arts for Learning. It's been great since 2014.
Yeah. Oh, that's a wonderful program too. Yeah.
So it's fun.
That's fantastic.
It's very hands-on. What's fun too is when I go into schools, it's just me going in there. I don't like to bring a lot of sets and props and stuff in because basically I want everything to be created organically with the students. We do it right in the classroom, or whether it's in a multi-purpose room or actually theater itself. Everything's done right there and created by the students themselves.
Is there a specific age group that you generally work with?
No, I've done everything from pre-K to retirement homes in New Haven. I've worked with marketing firms, law firms, Division I basketball teams, everything, which is awesome because that's what's great about theater arts and the performing arts and visual arts is that really, kind of Craig said too before, it really, it's for everyone. It really cultivates everyone too.
I mean, it's already been touched on, but all three of you, and the experience and stuff that the three of you bring is so wide-ranging. You touch on all the different areas, but everything, all of these different art forms and things that you've touched on so far are also universal. And it's not just for artists. It's just universal for everybody. So when you're talking about bringing these programs to people and kids and senior citizens and everybody, is there something specific that, like a message, like universally, that you're trying to bring to all of these groups, a thread that you're trying to tie all of them together with?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's in the name, Arts for Learning. It sounds sort of, when you're thinking about a arts learning, got at school. If you think about it, arts are for learning, and everyone learns all the time, every day.
I hope so.
Yeah. we perhaps need more arts,
right.
Which,
we'll get
another conversation. But it's used as a tool. Arts integration as a concept is using arts as a tool to connect and learn and engage. And a lot of what we do is in schools, of course, but families. Learning happens in communities. Learning happens when people come together and share ideas. And arts are in just an easy way to have that happen. If you put a bunch of art supplies on a table where there are families, some interesting things will happen. If you have an artist there guiding the process, then you could even learn even more about where they come from and why they brought the things they brought, and then stories start to get shared and people communicate. And it engages, really. And if you're engaged in what you're doing and what you're thinking, you're interested in learning more.
Sure. Oh yeah, definitely.
I think also too, all the teaching arts for learning they help students all around, no matter what their age is, to realize that, hey, you are creative, you have original ideas. The most shy student at the very beginning of a residency might be your most creative, outgoing student at the very end, whether it's a 3-week residency, whether it's a year-long residency. And that's the key, that what age group, that each student is individual and has creative ideas. And I think there's that big confidence boost that a lot of our teaching artists bring out with students. That they might not know, that a student might not find on their own or with their classroom teacher.
And what we do is also kind of sneaky. We're sneaking in. We've been trained, since I started almost 20 years ago, I could just do drumming programs, or I could just do photography as an art form when we first started. But over the course of the last 15 years or so, there's been a push for us in order to be accepted into the educational system that is now so academically based.
Right.
We can't, we hardly ever get to just teach art forms. So
no, why is that such a difficult thing now? I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I had art classes a couple times a week. I had music almost every day. And it wasn't that long ago. I mean, I finished my primary education in the mid-'90s. And now, like, my kids get 20 minutes once a week.
Yeah.
And it's
sad.
Disheartening is probably the nicest thing I can say about it.
I know teachers that work like 3 days in one school. And they see the kids once a week,
right?
If they're lucky, and then they're teaching art at another school. They're that spread thin, and arts are that marginalized in education now.
How did that happen?
A lot of it comes from the separateness of every academic subject. I mean, when I'm dual certified in art for K-12 as well as my master's is in elementary ed for K-6. So every subject is treated as a separate entity, where reading only happens between 9 and 10. And when I was working in New Haven, I taught science, and that there was less and less time for science. I taught 6th grade, so it was part of that curriculum. But in the younger grades, they often wouldn't get to science or social studies, and they were often shared the same block. And the reason for that is that you're trying to target the achievement gap with kids that aren't reading on grade level, kids that aren't in math on grade level. We don't have time for science and social studies, as if math and reading are not a part of those subjects.
Right.
Even the Common Core test of math now, the reason it's so difficult is because it contains so much reading. And, that's Common Core is another issue for another day. But to go back to the topic of, it's just so separate. It's separating every subject and saying we don't have time for art because we're focusing on targeting reading.
Right.
When, again, the integration piece would really solve a lot of it. Wouldn't need to be separate. If education were rewritten as a new format where things are more integrated, there would be time for everything because they would just meld together.
Sure.
It wouldn't be pulling separate ideas apart.
So I teach the art and science of water and the art and science of light. And so we're, about a quarter of the residency is spent teaching the kids about how light works, and not just taking for granted that, oh my gosh, there's light in this room.
Right.
Where's it coming from? How is it made? Or all the aspects of, scientific aspects of water. Let's go photograph it. Let's go play with water and get our hands wet and photograph that and splash it around and mix up colors in the water and let's melt ice and let's boil water and see how it turns into vapor, and photograph all that, and it actually makes for really cool photography. A lot of those things can be really fun subjects to photograph.
Yeah.
Our artists do a lot more than bringing a drum into a classroom, or bringing the camera in, and having some, this was fun, and artists came for the day. It's a lot more than that. Yeah.
With the drums, it's not just drumming. It is, let's write a song. Let's create a song about your school and put it to rhythm. Right. Or let's learn about math. Here's, as a drummer, my job, I don't sit there and count out loud, from the back of the room as I'm drumming, but the count is, a pattern, and rhythm is, by definition, it's a mathematical pattern.
Right.
And
well, you're talking about the science of sound waves and everything at that point.
Yeah, there's that too. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I go around with a big drum that when I tap it, you can literally feel the vibration of that drum across the room. And so I go up to the kids and let them feel the sound, and it's eye-opening. And fun. That's the secret sauce of what we do. We're special. We come in, we're there with them for maybe just an hour, or maybe a whole week, but.
Well, so you have the addition of novelty when you go into these classes.
Yes, absolutely. And it's funny watching kids light up and everything.
Yep.
And kind of what Alex was saying too. It's interesting. I'm sure, Craig, you've seen it when you go in the classrooms and you see the whole day lined up. This is math, this is reading, this is English.
12 minutes for this.
It's right. And it's the most, you look at it, it's the most awkward times, too. And it's fun, like when we, the teaching artists, are in there because you make them realize, doing theater, doing music, doing visual art, how it ties into their curriculum. We just did, we can create a commercial on something in science right now, and how to, whatever. You can create a new invention using robotics and mathematics right now.
Right.
Having kids utilize the skills that you're learning, but also have an alternate way to learn as well by utilizing different skills and skill sets. And yeah, it is funny going in there. And then goal 2 is that I always tell the teachers too, when I leave, use these skills. Use these for future students.
Right.
I know that you're bound to whatever your Board of Education says, or your principal, obviously, but that's the goal.
But, I mean, just having you in the classroom, isn't there sort of, it seems to me, I mean, I'm not an educator, but it seems to me just you're in the classroom, there's already buy-in from, at some level, to what you're going to do and hoping to integrate it into the curriculum, right? How difficult is it for a teacher? And teachers are, so far as I'm concerned, so disrespected culturally right now. Yeah. But they're swamped. I mean, they've got the Board of Education, they've got the superintendent, they've got their curriculum, they've got all these different things, that, and only so many hours in a day, only so many hours with each kid. And hours is probably generous when you're breaking it down to each kid in the classroom.
Most
these
classes
days
are 40, 45 minutes. Yeah.
So what is the expectation? Like, how can you realistically expect them to be able to take what you're bringing them for the kids, a novelty act, and be able to integrate that and keep them interested and keep them wanting to explore these things?
It's a really good question. Yeah.
And that's why we do things like the professional development. You know, we don't just teach kids. We teach teachers how to use what we do.
So even if it's not just the 1 hour you're there, there's other ways they can interact
just
and learn
seeing
these
what
things.
we do, actually utilizing the practices. And I've had teachers, and Craig had many years of doing this, saying, we use this exercise now when we teach so-and-so. Like a very basic role-playing game I do with every single letter or level is the hot seat game, where you are just speaking in first person, something we all did as kids, as that that historical figure they're being, or whatever it might be. And they're like, yeah, we just do that now. We just learned about Rosa Parks. The 4 kids just came up and spoke as Rosa Parks in her shoes, or relived something, and whatever it might be.
Yeah, my daughter just did that.
It's simple. It's the most simple thing, and kids love it and eat it up.
It's showing another way to kind of approach the same thing. You know, and we tell these teachers in schools, we give them something called a program guide, you know, before our artists go into the classroom, where the artists have set aside activities that they recommend the teachers try first, whether it's read this story to your class, check this video out online, you know, if possible, take a trip to this museum or whatever. And then they give suggested supplemental activities. And many artists come up with worksheets and graphic organizers and typed out activities that they then give to teachers to go forward with it. But the way that our artists teach, they have the understanding that the teachers in the room are watching them as well. And so, you know, there's a lot of nonverbal communication between adults when there's a room full of children. And so, you know, a lot of times the things that they're modeling, you know, they might look over and indicate, like, watch me right now, because I'm trying a theater exercise that will very much help you in classroom management or during transition, sure, to get their attention at recess to all come inside. You know, there's all these little ways that these things can be used throughout the day to just attack the same moments. And good teachers, which are pretty much every teacher I've ever worked with, the teachers are not the issue. You know, they're looking for these new ways to engage and to wrangle the kids back in for whatever reason, because, you know, kids need different things. They need novelty, you know, and the same kind of like counting down from 3 every time, that loses its luster, you know. So if you have these new interesting ways to grab the kids' attention, why would a teacher not want to use that? You know, even if it's a piece of it, you know. So
I think teachers understand we're there to work with them. We're not there to upstage them or anything like that. It's a team effort, and that's why we do integrate the teachers into the lesson. And also, to be honest, Craig and I might be with the school for only 3 days or 2 weeks. They know the students better than we do, obviously, so they kind of jump in and kind of tell you. what's going on. So
we
it's
put
a
our
great positive
artists
energy.
in direct contact with the teachers beforehand.
Okay.
Obviously administration approves various steps of the process, but I try my best to put artists in touch with the classroom that they're going to be in.
It sounds like a very cooperative experience for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We either at least make a phone call or send emails back and forth with the teachers before we walk in the classroom. Find out, like, we're not there just to push our agenda. I don't often create my lesson plan until after the first session.
Okay.
Because, after years of doing this, I've spent hours creating lesson plans and then walk in the door and end up throwing them out because they're just not going to work.
Right.
So I spend as much time as I can or get as much attention from that teacher as I can before I walk in the door.
So you'll design your little workshop
Yeah.
around what the teacher is looking for, what the
and
students,
where the students
are
are
available.
at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of times what we do, or a good teaching artist will engage that school in a conversation about what's your challenge. It's like I said, it's not about what I teach. I don't teach the same thing every time.
Right.
I want to know, where are your challenges? They got science down? Let's talk about positive life skills, last one I did at Cutler School in Mystic, which we have a great relationship with. We've got teachers going in and out of there practically every day the last couple of years. I was working with special needs classrooms in photography, and one of the classrooms was really severely challenged. These, they all have one-on-ones. Some of them have two-on-ones.
Wow.
And the initial conversation was these kids can't handle a camera, and so I was like, well, okay, let's work with that.
So there's just this built-in assumption of failure right from the get-go?
Not so much failure as just knowing their students
Right.
are they're barely able to keep themselves in control.
Okay.
And so
I have seen that, not at Cutler, but
Yeah.
that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And so we turn that into okay, if they can't take pictures, let's do a day in the life with these students. What do they do? What are they learning? What do they like to do? How do they interact with that school environment and with their teachers? And so I started photographing them.
Okay.
And giving their paras a camera. And out of 6 kids, 3 of them ended up wanting to take pictures and taking the pictures. And it may have been me holding the camera for them, and they'll reach over and push the button, or just stopping at a spot where there's art on the wall and they wanted to photograph that, or light coming through the window, and we would, I would let them do it. But it totally transformed from, oh, these kids can't do that, to here's half the kids doing it, and being open to that, because I didn't really have an agenda. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and if I had gone in and said, okay, this week we're going to photograph this and you're going to do this, and then no, it doesn't work that way.
So a lot of it just seems like just presenting an opportunity that they wouldn't have had otherwise will lead in new directions for everybody.
Exactly. To express themselves. That's at the heart of everything.
It's missing
process,
in most
yeah.
curriculum right now, too.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's just the idea that I can express myself outside
I hate
of
to say
the
teaching to a
prescribed
test,
time.
but having the opportunity to have a student absorb the information and to present the information in whatever creative fashion that is.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well,
one
the
of the-
concept that seems to constantly be lost on schools and perhaps people that make the legislations that are not on the ground every day is the engagement piece and the confidence piece. Any adult isn't going to do something they don't feel comfortable doing. Many adults don't engage in certain conversations because they don't feel that they're articulate or well-read enough to be heard, and so you back away.
Or speaking in front of a
Exact-
group
yeah,
or
and
in
that
front of a
happens-
microphone.
Exactly. And so if a kid is lacking the confidence in everything at school, they're not going to care,
Right.
presumably to you or I, that's what it looks like, that they don't care. But it's a defense mechanism. They have no confidence, and the arts provide that bit of way to express themselves.
So even if you're not, training everyone to be an artist as, when they grow up, because most people aren't going to, I don't want to say most, but many people don't have any aspiration for that. They have other things they want to do. But as you're just saying, instilling that sense of confidence and that ability to think around obstacles and all these other areas that come with an arts and creativity emphasis in education, that's got to carry over later in life into other areas, right?
Yeah.
So do you have you experienced obstacles trying to bring these programs to, not calling out different schools or school systems or anything, but has there been pushback, like we don't have the time, we can't
there
give
is.
arts any time?
There is, and I feel that comes from the lack of understanding of what we do.
Right.
There's a lot of theories of what the arts are and what their role in society should be. I think historically it was seen as a very separate thing for people that had more privilege or had more opportunity to travel or to appreciate art in Europe or whatever, and I think a lot of people still feel that the arts are a very highbrow and really esteemed field, which is true.
Right.
But like every subject or every career field, there's different ways of looking at it.
And there's also that sense of an artist being other. Like
yes.
they're a little bit borderline on this, on the fringes of society.
Like we don't want to promote
How
our
can we
students
encourage
to be doing that.
Yeah.
But here we all sit,
Right.
people with jobs and careers, and we're well-adjusted
Right.
people doing all kinds of things. And so, certain people just have an affinity for doing lots of things, and being creative and doing a bunch of different activities and having different goals and meeting different people. And some people just work better at that speed. One of our artists sent a TED Talk to me a few weeks ago about a tech company, how they were having trouble with some kind of meeting some goal. And the guy was talking at his local pub establishment, and the bartender that was there was like, let me come in tomorrow. I'm an artist. And he was like, okay, we're like an engineering tech company. Okay. And he ended up solving whatever problem it was just because of the way he approached the problem.
Right.
It was looking at it from a different vantage point. And creativity isn't something that necessarily yields becoming a professional painter. It's a way of looking at something.
Right. So how much of what you do is really about helping people be able to think in different ways and approach problems from different angles?
All of it.
Oh, it's all.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, that's our
focus.
Yeah. I mean, we teach. He may teach, acting and theater. I may teach photography, but I'm not there to teach photography. In my mind, I'm there to give those kids a chance to express themselves, to be creative, and be successful. Arts are the great equalizer. And we give kids a chance to be successful. And I can say after, doing this for 17 years or so, that I have not had a kid in my photography classes for probably thousands of kids over the years that hasn't gotten at least a couple of awesome pictures that we celebrate at the end of every residency. I put the kids' pictures up on the big screen at the end of every residency. And let me tell you, the teachers are always blown away by what the kids come together with. Yeah.
I'm going to piggyback on that, Craig. It's perfect because it's true. I'm not in there teaching just theater arts. It's really for them to be more confident in the classroom, having that kid that maybe doesn't want to ever read out loud because they're lacking that self-awareness or confidence, just to be able to be up there, work as a team, work in a group, and be creative, have fun up there. I mean, everything that I do in a classroom, it's all different. All right, no classroom is the same, no school is the same. So no matter what they do in their career, and I tell this to my college kids I work with, and especially when I'm with middle school and high school kids, is that no matter what your job is going to be, you're going to have to present yourself in front of people. You're going to have to communicate with people. You're going to have to come up with ideas and work in groups and stuff. Theater arts, visual arts, performing arts is all part of that. I'm not expecting anyone to be a performer or anyone to memorize monologues or anything like that. just be there, have fun, and work as a team and work as an ensemble.
Well, it
And
seems like
Anthony's-
just that confidence that comes with that has to be.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Once they say, they don't even know when I'm working with them that they're performing, because
Right.
it's in small groups and we're just basically having fun. I start with small, basic improv games that have very low standards of any kind of independent, like speaking or anything like that, and you grow, and all of a sudden, within 45 minutes to an hour, they're doing this little short improv scenes based on whatever's being learned in the classroom.
And Anthony's talking about an important distinction when you're teaching between content and skill. And, that's the separation of subject that happens a lot of the time, is that when you're teaching, and as a teacher, when I was in graduate school and teaching, the administration, when you're setting your goals, you're setting a content goal and you're setting a goal in skills. So if you're learning today about the first battle of the Revolutionary War, what activity are you doing with your students, and then what skill are they gleaning from that? Are they reading and then formulating further questioning, and something like what Anthony's talking about, the content could be a theater skill or an improvisational, understanding what that is, but then the skills coming away from that are confidence, are public speaking. So there's an important distinction there. And speaking to your question earlier about how can this be taken further, not everybody's going to grow up to be a professional artist.
Right.
No, but the skills that you could be learning, framing a photo, everyone's going to have a reason to take a photo at some point, or to zoom in on something, or even without a camera in your hand, the ability to focus on something small, or to appreciate something small. That's a way of looking at something. That's a skill that you may not get
Or just
without that.
even to change the angle you view something.
Right. And that's metaphorically a whole
Right.
other
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
So,
Yeah, the arts are amazing at giving kids a chance to understand and practice positive life skills, which are seriously lacking in school curriculum.
yes.
We're giving kids a chance to work as a team, and if they're not working together as a team in the drumming programs I do, it's total chaos. And
I would imagine with drums in the room, yeah.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you, I work with kindergartners with drums, and there could be 40 kids in the room or
He's still
60
here.
kids. Yeah, it's instant feedback, right?
Yeah.
If you're not listening to each other, if you're not playing along, I mean, talk about important kindergarten life skills. Listen to each other, communicate with each other, and play along. Those are my three big things with the drums.
Right.
And I don't beat them over the head with that. I give them a chance.
Even with the stick, you've got it there.
No, it's like I give them a chance to experience chaos.
Yeah.
First thing I do is I give them the drums and step back, and I don't lead. And they have this, like, they're looking at each other like, what's wrong here? This is not fun. And then I give them a heartbeat and say, which one did you like better? And from there on, they're entrained. They're locked in.
Because you let them try it. I mean, pedagogically, there are huge advantages to that. I mean, I was, encouraged to do that. If you're introducing a new tool for whatever reason, for math, blocks or whatever you're using, just let them play for 20 minutes. Get it out of their system, build the thing, knock it over.
Yep.
And then when you pull from that, like you just said, you give two examples of what you just did and what we want to do. That's out of their system, and now you have their attention.
And sometimes I'm not sure, every school is different, every classroom is different, that maybe students aren't allowed the opportunity to just play and not fail, but just do something incorrectly on purpose, and then see what the correct way is, whether it's following a rhythm. Problems. That's the thing. That's the thing. And sometimes I feel students feel restricted. They're in this box that I have to fit.
It seems like the idea of play as a learning tool is sort of discouraged these days.
Exactly.
Everything is so structured now.
One of our artists at the conference, his whole deal focuses really heavily on using play as a means to learn.
Yeah.
We could talk about that for a day.
As adults, we forget about that. I mean, it's very funny. It's if I'm working with a marketing firm or whatever, I'm not going to teach them how to do their job better. I'm just going to have you have fun and listen to each other. Same thing what Craig was saying.
Right.
Work together and have that sense of play. It's like if you had a bunch of lawyers in here, 8 of them, and you just gave them a coloring book. after 10 minutes, they'll probably fall in love with it and go back to their childhood. You were creative. You don't have to be the adult.
Those adult coloring books are flying off the shelves these days.
They really are.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's what's fun. The sense of play is such an important factor in everything, and we forget about that. As we get older, we have this filter in our head. What are people thinking about me? Right. What do I look like? And that you kind of shut yourself down, and you forget to...
Well, that's part of being an adult is being able to shut all those things off. I no longer want to play.
Yeah.
I'm a grown-up.
Right. And that's not true.
I love...
Right, everybody wants to play. Right?
Exactly. And we're like, well, go play with your kid in the backyard. Pretend you're a dragon. Who cares? Don't care what anyone's thinking about or looking at.
The kid is loving it.
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. One of my secret agendas is to give teachers a chance to observe how things can be done differently and how they can integrate what I do into their daily activities to keep the kids focused. And I don't know how many times a teacher has come up to me afterwards and said, wow, you know what, I learned a lot about photography, but I see this environment that we're kind of stuck in all day long from a different perspective, and I'm observing things differently, and that's really at the heart of what I do.
Yeah.
It's rewarding to see that light bulb go off with a student that you're working with, and especially a teacher in there, that the teacher that's been there for 40 years saying, I've been teaching the same thing, let's say, for so long, I've never approached that way or thought about it that way.
Yeah.
That's the most rewarding thing.
Well, I mean, sometimes just being able to step back and have a different set of eyes on something is really important a lot of times.
And just for an example on how play can lead to learning, which many people might be raising an eyebrow at, Gerald Moore is the artist I'm talking about. He has... Essentially, it's a large cityscape game where it has sculptural components, but essentially kids break up into groups and create small cityscapes. Then he brings out a bag of action figures, and you add the action figures in. And he asks pointed questions, why is Superman standing there? Why is the cow over there? And then the kids are like, oh, because kids have reasons for every placement they make when they're playing.
Yes, they do.
And 100%. And so he's asking these questions, and they're rearranging things, and then he said, all right, go write it down. And all of a sudden, a class of children, I watched this happen in my classroom. Before I took this position, Gerald did a residency. I watched those students, this is a difficult group, run to their table and write the story down. And look, you've tricked children into writing. Right. And they thought they were playing. And all the ideas were so in their head that they couldn't wait to get it out on paper. There you go. Play, literacy, done.
We do that with, it's the same thing I do with my oldest kids, is story arc structure, with the beginning, rising action, climax, following action, resolution. And I've done it with as young as second grade. Okay, this is the intro where you have the characters and setting, the rising actions with a problem, and so on. And basically, just by having just a general conversation with kids, okay, all right, they can actually, within 20 to 40 minutes, map out a whole story arc, which then they'll improvise, do frozen pictures with, and then act out. So within 60 minutes, and I did with so many classrooms, like, you just created an original story just by coming up with various characters, various settings, and a common theme, and just plug it in. And yes, you just did a arts literacy curriculum connection right there.
That's a big piece of curriculum in grades K-5 is the format of a story.
Yeah, and just have them understand it and be involved. You're going to present it now, okay? You're not going to just learn about it and say it out loud. You're going to act out. You're going to be whatever that character was.
I think some people get caught up with the idea of literacy just being ABC. I know my letters. I can sound out this word. But being able to pull information out of a story, especially when it's something like a history book, or being able to pull a narrative out of something that's otherwise pretty dry, can be a challenge.
Yes.
We have one artist, Tom Lee, who's a storyteller and a master storyteller, and he does this visual literacy programs where he'll bring in a painting, or they'll do a field trip to an art museum, and the kids just dive into these artworks like you wouldn't believe. They're encouraged to view the piece, write about it. How does it make you feel? What does it make you question? And then create your own art piece based on that. And it's amazing to see that.
Yeah, I think kids' reaction to art is often fascinating to me. Like they'll see something that I will overlook, and they'll stop. Wow, So getting that reaction in a classroom has to be pretty rewarding. I would think, right?
Could be funny too.
Now, Alex, you mentioned something a couple minutes ago. You mentioned the idea of remembering the first battle of the Revolutionary War, and to me, it seems like there's an emphasis on remember the date, remember the location, and then push everything else away. So I'm wondering if there is a hurdle that has to be overcome anytime you guys enter a classroom where you have to change the mindset, where instead of learning to remember facts for a test that you're going to have to take, and these are the facts that may or may not come up on the test, is there another way that you're able to shift the mindset of the students or even of the teachers to get away from just fact, fill in the bubble, to sort of integrating the story elements of history or other subjects, where you really get away from that to teach to the test, to, learning how to think about things or integrate information a little bit more comprehensively, I guess.
Luckily, I think, social studies and history are changing in the way that they're being approached. It's being called social studies in a lot more places, which is good, I think, because it shows that history happened, but whatever's happening there, those implications, have effects that continue. And luckily, I can, based on my experience in schools, which was in one district, but a big one, New Haven, it's being looked at as a more global perspective. So I think that luckily teachers feel that way. And, teachers that are really skilled at what they do know that needs to be the way that it goes. But that mindset is often very difficult to try and change. I find it less difficult with teachers than it is with administration. I'm not, knocking that, because everybody has pressures from someone above them.
But what about the students themselves? Because I feel like there's got to be, especially after a certain age, there's got to you're sort of indoctrinated into here's how school is. Memorize this, fill out this test, move on to the next grade. Is there ever any resistance to getting away from that model as you're kind of working in these different elements into a classroom?
There is resistance.
Yeah, I just did a high school photography program, and I was embedded in homeroom in a high school, which I thought was a brilliant idea. Because the kids are really just, they're doing homework or they're just kind of on their phones.
Right.
And so let's do a cell phone photography workshop, and I gave them skills to improve the quality of the pictures that they take with their phones.
During a homeroom time.
During their homeroom time,
That's great.
yeah. And the kids were given a choice. There'd be 20 or 30 kids in that homeroom, and they were given a choice. Do you need to do homework? Go ahead.
Right.
But if you'd like to do photography, here's Craig over in the corner. And so, the first day I had, maybe 2 or 3 kids that bought in. And then kind of the word got out. And the next day it was 6 or 7 kids. And the next day it was 10 or 12 kids.
Right.
And there is this kind of, by the time they get to about middle school or transitioning from middle school to high school, they've pretty much had the creativity beaten out of them.
Right.
They're so focused on just getting through the school day.
Right.
And the teachers are the same way. That, the creative thinking parts are getting left behind. But and the awesome thing was on that last day when we had a huge group, the school had an agricultural theme to it, and so they had greenhouses, they had cows, they had goats in the school.
Wow.
So we went straight for the greenhouse, and let's go shoot not shoot the goats, but let's go photograph the goats.
Class entirely.
Yeah. And the kids, literally, it was like working with a bunch of kindergartners. They were just bouncing bouncing off the walls with excitement,
yeah,
and getting great pictures and on their cell phones. There is a success built into what we do pretty much every time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
for us to get booked, someone believed,
exactly.
in what your program was.
Yeah.
And kids often are is this
it's the older kids
like,
that are, you might have some, there might some older kids. Craig and I were at the same school, and like I had my workshop in the cafeteria. I loved it, and I said, and they were like, "Is that okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, theater, we could do it anywhere."
Mm-hmm.
And having students, and again, these are. When did we go? It was just a few weeks ago, so already at the end of the year. And
April,
students, April, May. Mine was at 7:15 in the
Summeritis
morning. 7:15 in the morning,
Oh,
and basically they buy in right away because they just they see their peers doing it, and also it's just fun. What we do is it's different.
right.
We're not sitting on a desk right now listening to a lecture. It's on your feet. You're feeling the camera. You're feeling the drum. You're feeling what is happening around you. And to go back to your previous question, with how do we have students not just memorize dates, locations, stuff like that, especially in like the theater arts. Well, you're going to relive that. You're going to act out. You're going to do tableau work, which is frozen pictures, recreate the situation, whatever happened in history. So it's, again, they're really embodying what that was rather than, and feeling what that specific event was in social studies or history rather than just this is the date, this location, this is where it happened, all that stuff.
Some people learn that way,
It's good,
but that's the thing is that it's some,
Yeah,
and then
it's not to everyone.
No,
so
and what we're doing is just providing other ways.
Exactly, there
look
is
at
other
something.
optional ways you can learn.
Yeah.
And
those kids would be great for a different role on that tableau.
exactly. That's what's nice when we do the group work stuff, because you have a little bit of everything. You have the student that can remember everything and record everything. That person is also working with someone that's going to push or be the catalyst for the plot structure. That's going to come up with these random ideas, which is awesome. That person's writing down those ideas. So everyone kind of helps each other in a way.
Right. Wow. All right. Let's talk about cultivating creativity for a few minutes, because I know the workshop is coming up soon. Mm-hmm. So what's the mission of the workshop? Who is going to be there? Who's invited?
Sure.
Go.
So it's our first annual Cultivating Creativity Teachers Conference. Arts for Learning is part of a wider network called Young Audiences of America. There's many subsidiaries all over the country. And last summer I visited Young Audiences of Virginia, and they have a conference that we modeled this off of. They were super helpful to me in helping to plan this. But it's a full-day conference. It's at Quinnipiac University on Wednesday, July 10th. That's where I went to school, and the Dean of Education there, Dr. Ann Deschelle, was a professor of mine, and she's been so helpful in getting this set up. But the structure of the day is there'll be a keynote speaker in the morning, one of our artists, Teresa Makowitz, who is a special needs teacher. She is an author and has written tons and tons of books. And then there are 3 workshop sessions throughout the day. There are multiple offerings per time period, but all of the people there offering workshops are our roster artists.
Okay.
We have had... there's the way that the numbers have situated, we've cut a few of the workshops out just because we don't need them based on numbers, but that we have 10 workshops that are going to be running, and they're all very different. Theater arts, photography. Kaim Kelly, who has been on this podcast before, is doing where he's reframing the classroom as a place of fun, so how to restructure what you're doing to engage kids in that way. We have visual art. There's a storyteller coming. Gerald Moore, who I referenced earlier, is conducting a workshop. So the point of this conference is for academic teachers, whoever, librarians, parents, anybody who is not necessarily an artist. The tagline is you don't have to be an artist to cultivate an artist. So to basically, so essentially it's going to arm teachers or whoever is there with the skills to cultivate art in their classroom. So like we've talked about today, the professional development aspects of what our artists do, whoever is coming to this conference will be able to take and internalize some of those skills and then bring them back to their classroom to work the arts in. It's not, anyone is welcome to come, again, especially arts teachers as well, but we really want, in an environment where the arts are being cut and that's happening more and more every year. It's going to happen in New Haven next year. It's happening.
Right.
So in order to curb that panic of, oh my gosh, we're not going to have any of this in our classroom, you can't. You
Right.
can just work it in a different way. And, now you can have a visual arts aspect. You can have drumming in your room. You don't have to be this or that. You can work it in. You can cultivate that in your students. And so that's the objective.
Right. Now, you said 10 workshops. Now, how many workshops is it really feasible for any
So
one
each
attendance?
person it will be 3. Yeah. So you
Okay.
beforehand, the attendees that have registered are going to get they're going to have choices, and then I'll assemble people in various groups based on people's choices.
Okay.
But you'll choose 3 to attend.
Okay.
And usually the registrants have had a pretty good idea of exactly the ones that they'd like to see and the ones that they're interested in attending. But there will also be a panel discussion with artists later in the afternoon, so that if perhaps you didn't have an opportunity to attend one of the workshops, you'll be able to ask some questions.
Okay.
There'll be time to talk and network with the artists. Luckily, it's our first one, so there's going to be about 30 to 40 people there, which has its benefits in that those workshops are now an intimate group where discussions can be had and examples can be shared. And like we talked about,
you mean a smaller group is beneficial for learning?
Yeah.
Weird.
Heard of that?
I know. So luckily, that'll, and then people will be, the attendees and will be able to talk with the artist. It's not a lecture. That's sort of not what we're intending to do, and not what we're advocating for in education at all.
Right.
So, we're modeling this, type of learning that we'd like to see take place.
In terms of, like, if somebody wanted to register and participate, where do they go about doing that?
On our website,
Okay.
www.aflct.org. Scroll down a little bit, and it says "Calling All Educators."
Okay.
And you can register easily online. It's $40 for the day, covers parking, breakfast and lunch, activities, workshops. You'll have some goodie bags. We had a very generous donation from Pez in West Haven,
nice.
so everybody will get a little something from Pez.
Do I get a Pez head?
The
Yeah.
teachers get their own sugar rush.
Yes, so there's going to be some other little goodie bags and giveaways from some local stores that we work with.
Oh,
so,
that's great.
Yeah, it's going to networking. Get to meet some people.
Yeah.
So.
You said there's panic over the arts being taken out of classrooms. Who's panicking? Why aren't the correct people panicking? And how can we make them panic to get the arts back into the classroom?
Good.
That is a good
question.
That's a great question.
Well, you panicked.
I did. That's why I'm doing this. I panicked.
Right. As a parent?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because I know the impact it had on me.
Right.
I mean, I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but I do some community theater. I do some writing. I'm a photographer on some level. It's been a constant in my life.
Yeah.
For 40 some odd years, and I see that not happening anymore.
I think those who panic understand the value,
Right.
and understand the concept of arts integration, that understand that it's used as a tool to engage in everything we've talked about. I think people that are not panicking, ignorance is bliss. I think if you're not understanding the impact of something, you don't care. I mean,
Right.
that happens every day in our country in many ways. If you're not directly affected by something, or if you don't have an understanding of its impact, you don't care about it.
But,
And I
but
think
who is it that's not directly impacted? Because what I see are particularly business owners or people who are more business minded.
School administration.
Yeah.
They're
Sure.
our biggest challenge because
Yes.
they're not on the front line. They're not really. They're crunching numbers.
Right.
We don't
Right.
fit in their box, essentially.
Yeah.
But we talk about crunching numbers, and business owners are looking for certain skills. Different career fields need different skills. And if these skills aren't coming from the education where it's supposed to be built, then people aren't going to be developing those skills. And even if you're not an artist and you're not looking for artists, people who are hiring are certainly looking for people who can think
Yes,
new
they
and
are.
differently about existing issues and be able to forecast issues that may come up, which you're not going to be able to think about if you haven't been
In a rote
encouraged
world,
to
yeah.
think about that kind of thing. So how do we get these people to care and to start pushing for integration of this stuff back into a public curriculum.
Leaders need to have a solid grasp of what it is, and I think that there's often not, people feel they don't have time to learn a new thing. I mean, it sounds as simple as that, perhaps, but...
I think the most important thing that we all bring to the table is creative thinking, is how to respond and not react, and just and part of the drumming programs that I do is to throw changes at the kids. And how do you respond? Do you freak out and shut down? No, none of the kids do that. Yeah. They go with the flow, and that is an incredibly important life skill. And music teaches that, not math.
Right.
What Anthony does, which and a lot of our artists do, is give the kids a chance to express themselves. Verbally express themselves. And so many kids are shut down by the time we get to them that we're giving them a chance to really express themselves and do it in a fun, safe environment.
Yeah.
Which, schools these days are, shut up and do your math. It's not really that bad.
Challenge the world of fine arts to take a bit of a role in this too. I think that, I touched earlier on, there are two camps of thought in the arts, that what we advocate for here, and then that it is a very highbrow separate society. That is a very real perspective and a very real opinion about the role that the arts have in the world. And I think that, a lot of people in that realm who don't believe in using arts to engage special needs students, or that don't feel that certain students will be able to use a camera, I think I challenge a lot of the people in this field, to think about arts differently and to think about how what they do could be applied to a wider audience, and just push back there. And, I think that that's a part of it. I definitely have come into contact with artists that are interested in what they do and promoting that, which is, we all need to make a living, I understand that. But, if you're trying to change the consciousness of a country, and we have to unite as a group of artists in the way that we're approaching it.
Right.
For it to be seen as something that's important to a larger society.
Yeah.
So that would help.
Anthony, you look like you have a thought on this.
No, I'm agreeing with all of you. It's true. It's I think Alex said earlier, it's about impacting the leaders too, the people that make the decisions on who they're hiring. Companies will see that you do need people that can work as a team, work creatively, have independent thought as well. And that's why the professional development programs that we do, where we actually have administrators, other teachers come in, is so important, because they can see it firsthand. And again, having these kids, your kids can be on their feet, still learning. I understand you have to teach to a test. I understand these are state-regulated tests. But there's other things as well. These are outlets that can help out, whether it's drumming, photography, theater, poetry, rap. It doesn't matter. It's all stuff that can only help your curriculum, help your students.
Right.
So it all goes into one big little pot.
Now, if there's parents or educators or anybody who's concerned and wants to be able to do something, is there a way for people to advocate for more of this in the classroom?
Parents?
Call Alex.
That's Arts for Learning Connecticut all the way.
We'll find an artist for you.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll convince you. Anybody come check out our conference, and I think you'll be convinced by the end of the
go
day.
to it, yeah.
Parents don't recognize a lot of the times the impact that they have. When I was teaching, I think that a lot of, for various reasons, if you come from a different country or from a different state, or you are working a lot and you may not have the physical time to spend in a school, that doesn't mean you can't be an involved parent. I mean, parental involvement is so crucial to the way that education happens in this country. And I think a lot of parents, again, for whatever reason, either don't feel welcome, which is a problem. You know, that's a school needs to deal with that, why their parents are not coming in. If you have a PTA of 1, which is the school I came from, you have to look at yourself, and you have to look at your school and why, because there's a reason. It's not the parents.
Right.
That's not the reason.
I mean, there's also the time crunch that I know a lot of parents feel, working 2 or 3 jobs to try to get their kids through.
Yes.
Having to volunteer for more stuff.
Yeah. And again, you don't have to necessarily come to every meeting at the school, but if you have conversations with your child about what's important in their life, chat with other parents about it. Parents have friends, they have a community or a network of somehow teamwork. You could talk to some other parents and split the time somehow. And again, parents have so many rights. Parents can go to school, and the things that they can ask for that need to be delivered legally, parents don't even know that. Parents of special needs students can ask for certain people to come into their classroom for their child, and the school has to say yes. I mean, parents I don't think realize the power that they have, and for whatever reason they feel shut out. That might be purposeful, in some districts. Having that line of communication open generally tends to have a better result. Just like, in the classroom, if the line of communication is open, there's more things being learned and happening. And I think that if parents feel more comfortable that they can come into school and have an opinion based on where they come from, whether they speak English or whatever, those parents need to feel good, and then they can see that benefit, and then it kind of catches on from there.
Wow. So if anybody wants more information on Arts for Learning CT, it's aflct.org,
yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay. And is there a way to contact you through that website, or a phone number or anything?
Yeah, so on the website there, all of our emails are listed in various places. Mine is Novak at aflct.org. Be happy to answer any questions at any time. Yeah.
Thank you all so much
for
talking with me about this.
Thanks for coming.
This was amazing.
Thank you.
Another huge thank you to Alex Novak Foster, Craig Norton, and Anthony DePoto for coming on the show to discuss such an important topic. Now be sure to visit aflct.org for more information about Arts for Learning Connecticut or about cultivating creativity. It should be no surprise to anyone who's a regular listener that I think encouraging creativity in the classroom is vitally important, and I hope you'll take whatever steps you can to keep the arts and creative thinking alive in your community. All right, one admittedly very minor step you can take is to support Table to Stage by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, or wherever it is you get your podcasts. In the world of podcasts, it's really those ratings and reviews that make it possible for new listeners to find the show. So make sure to subscribe to the pod on your podcast app so you don't miss any new episodes as they drop. It's free and it's easy, so hit the subscribe button now. All right, that's it for this week. Until next time, keep creating.